All art is political, and video games are art. Therefore, all video games are to some degree political. And politics has an agenda. Sometimes these things are more overt than others, but it's always there. It's called subtext. This is Talking Games and Touching Grass. A lot of times people will miss the subtext because of a lack of media literacy, or they will ignore the subtext because even if they don't agree with what the game is trying to say or what the piece of art is trying to say, they like it enough to just want to pretend it's not there. Oftentimes, if there is legitimate criticism around someone saying something is agenda-based or too political, what they're really referring to is bad writing. But the writing being good or bad does not validate or invalidate whatever message the art is trying to convey. And oftentimes, I don't think the subtext or the message of something has anything to do with your actual enjoyment of the game. And the inclusion of diverse casts are not pushing any sort of agenda other than the fact that we just live in a diverse world. If you have ever lived in a large city, you're exposed to a lot of different types of people. Cities are by nature diverse, just as development teams are. But none of these things, neither the politics, the agenda, inclusivity, diversity, or lack of diversity in a game has really any bearing on it being a fun thing to play. These arguments are disingenuous, and any protest about a piece of art containing politics, whether overt or otherwise, is asking the artist to betray the reason they are creating the piece of art to begin with. Even things that people point to as just a fun piece of media that isn't political in any way are oftentimes extremely political. Call of Duty, for example, is funded by the United States government and is propaganda. It is pushing a political message. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to agree with the message or even pay any mind to it to enjoy the game. You can just have fun with Call of Duty. It being or not being propaganda has no bearing on how fun the game is to play. Just like the inclusion of certain groups, ideas, and messages in games have no bearing on how fun it is to play. Not to mention that often a lot of the diversity in the games are reflective of the development teams that worked on them and want to insert a piece themselves into the art that they are creating. We have made great strides in the last couple of years about video games being an art form, and this anti-intellectual sentiment that is encroaching its way into games will lead to them getting worse. So next time you want to complain about politics in video games, maybe simply go outside and touch some grass. I'm doing it right now, and it's lovely. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. If you haven't already, give me a follow, and as always, go touch some grass.